instructor, designer, toastmaster, agnostic, vapor blogger. We would like to talk to you about Ukrainian firearms training, instructional activities, about shooters, about how to train people in shooting, how to train personnel, a little bit about philosophy and practice. Today we have a friend of ours, call sign Zulu, who is a military commander of a special operations group. And today we would like to talk to you about the unique Ukrainian firearms training, about the nuances, aspects and everything. Who is an instructor anyway?
In my opinion, an instructor is described very simply. This is a person who has certain sensible, standardized knowledge. This knowledge should not be taken from somewhere in the sky, heard from your grandmother, or even obtained in secret schools, because there are no such things as secret schools. Even the most secretive schools in the United States, everyone already knows where they are located and what they teach. Therefore, just going through certain serious schools, even if they are schools within our country, even if they are within the NATO structure, but just going through such of effective schools and courses gives the instructor the right to pass on their knowledge, because this knowledge is already important for something. Therefore, an instructor is a person who has knowledge and is able to pass it on.
We are talking about an agnostic now. That is, an instructor whose sole focus is teaching people to work with weapons from the 0 level to the highest possible level. Can a person who has only ever held an airsoft gun in his hands be an instructor? Well, seriously, no joke.
No joke. I'll be honest, I've held an airsoft gun in my hands a few times in my life. That's the truth. But with all this, I have been with weapons for many years. And I can say that an instructor is simply obliged to have combat experience in addition to having this knowledge. And this can be his personal experience in combat situations, or it can be experience that is directly related to him. For example, this is the experience of those people whom he has trained. And they gave him some feedback, then this person can to have the right to continue teaching people something. I understand that in this case it becomes a vicious circle. You can't get hired without experience, and there is nowhere to get experience. But everything is very simple. A person joins the army, to the special forces, anywhere. There she stands right in a row, in a line with other military personnel, employees, and he just learns, gains some experience. She gets hit in the head, she cries, she is sad, but over time she reaches a certain level when she realizes that she wants to prove herself as well. She already knows how to do better than others, so she goes to specialized courses and gets the right to share her knowledge.
It's the instructor training courses, not just course?
Instructor courses, not just courses in shooting training. There are many examples of this. When you have a great shooter who has even completed a cool shooting course, he has also become a shooter himself, because he is not ready to pass on the knowledge in the form in which he would have received it from quality instructors. That is why it is the strong instructor courses based on the experience and hard work in the troops and at the training grounds that give a person the right to become an instructor. In your opinion, how long does it take to teach a person to shoot well? He's just a guy off the street.
I think that, in my honest opinion, if you approach it properly and if the instructor is good and the person is good at taking in information, we have enough booklets and time, I think that in one Sunday you can pass on some knowledge to them, and for him to get full-fledged skills of how to develop muscle memory and bring it to the maximum level.
In my opinion, it takes about 3 years to make a good human shooter from scratch. I'm not just saying that. Don't think I'm just fantasizing out of the blue.
To include, well, no, I'm not just saying that.
In different temperature conditions, in different climatic conditions, when we have a change of seasons, when a person trains with different equipment, with different clothes, he tries different weapon systems perhaps in this process. And then, over the course of about 3 years, he becomes a really good specialist if he does this. But it takes 2 days to make a normal shooter. Maximum, that is, in my opinion, a person should cover the necessary basic knowledge Get the theoretical necessary basic knowledge in one day. Try the simplest practical exercises, sleep with it and consolidate it the next day, and the person will be able to shoot. That's normal.
A lot of people are now trying to buy or somehow get AR weapons. In our realities, when such a dynamic is going on, tough battles, purely your subjective choice. Full stock, i.e. M4 or AK-74. Mechanics.
Well, I will definitely choose the AK. Only for one reason. It's ammunition. Because we have not specified what kind of unit you are part of. Will you have BC reserves behind you, bringing equipment, stores and so on? Will you have the opportunity to use this ammunition in battle? Hardly.
Your vision may be somehow philosophical. Where should people start in general, since we will be watching people who are completely civilians, who a certain category is hesitant to join the army now. A certain category, well, we will come to this question in a moment. Someone hesitates, someone does not hesitate, but most of them, I think, will still be forced or receive summonses and will take part directly in the war. That's how they are supposed to learn firearms in general. Training in, I don't know, weapon skills?
First, a civilian, in my opinion, is a military person who just hasn't realized it yet. It may sound controversial, but the fact is that we are at war. Not everyone will have time to hide, and not everyone will be able to hide forever. At some point, everyone will have to take up arms or simply leave the state. Or somehow get involved in helping the army or interacting with it. Because the war is not over yet, and the most optimistic forecasts tell us that in order to liberate our territories, I'm not saying that we can stay in this parity of forces for a very, very long time and fight the Russians when we need to rotate units. But in order to liberate our territories, we will need to replenish. I think there are 3 times as many people as there are at the front. So just do the math. What chance do you have, if you haven't joined the army yet, to get into the ranks and take up arms?
Yes, we recommend that you just gradually start studying some literature, watch our upcoming videos where we will talk about firearms training, about the nuances, about the aspects
of our people, and the fact that they do not have this fear, but some people still believe that it does not concern them at the moment. It applies to everyone, and at any time of war, it's just a matter of time before you need to take up arms or enter certain areas where others are using weapons.
I just don't understand, you know, when I was growing up, for example, I was probably like everyone else around us. Yeah, our friends, you know, owning a gun, well, that's fucking awesome, you know, a combat uniform, how I grew up, yeah, that's cool. I mean, how can some people not be interested?
They are not afraid of weapons, they are afraid of war. Let's be honest, let's say it like it is. Somewhere people don't want to die. But I just want to say, it doesn't mean that you went to war and died. It happens less often than you go to war and survive. They just have to take an interest. They should open up literature. I'm not talking about literature. They don't need to read a lot of letters in books. You can just open YouTube, watch a video, and evaluate for yourself visually whether I like this picture or not. I like the way the guy is handling the weapon. Does it look impressive, and so on. And only then start to figure out which of these people has actual instructor experience. Which of these people is considered to be a more qualified instructor in general. And start just for yourself. Copy the movements. Staying at home and trying to see if I can hold an assault rifle in my hands, if I can do this, so I can take a board, a broom, a board, a broom, and just...
Cutting corners? This is a normal topic, of course. It's a normal topic. When you take a piece of paper and walk around your apartment at night and you cut it, you know, normally it's not a joke. It's kind of like a profession. And then we, say, you know, as they say, smile in the mirror and you will be in a better mood. Just pretend that you are a Special Forces operator, and tomorrow you will be a Special Forces operator.
I wish you health. I wish you health. And it was so. And at some point, a person will realize that they want more. And he will start looking for his sensei, his instructor, who will give him real skills with real weapons and teach him to be a great special forces officer.
Yes, well, thank you very much. I'll tell you very quickly. We'll just cut you off. You need to become a professional. If you have any inclination, then you need to develop in this direction because we lack professional instructors, for example, in the military.
How does a person grow into an instructor? It's very simple. There are 4 points. This is the degree of assimilation of information by a person. When a person sees something, how someone does something, this is the first stage. The person has learned visually or heard or seen. The second stage is when a person tries to practice this skill. The third stage is when a person tries to put it into practice to apply it. And then they see the result of their knowledge. And the fourth stage of knowledge acquisition, deep assimilation. It is the transfer of this information to other people. As we can see, this is a direct path from the fact that we receive information, feel it with our bodies. Let's try to apply it in practice. Because you have already broken down a complex process into small components and you have deeply internalized it. And when you share this knowledge with people, you put it through your own lens once again, and then you feel that you understand the process completely.
I understand. When a person enters the service now, for example, when he is called up, when he is mobilized, he should be taught in general to have some skills, either primary or deep, in working with his personal, that is individual weapons, that is AK or M4. What is expected of a person in general? How will they be trained, give or take? Will you look at the stages, not very deeply, but like this? What will they learn?
I think definitely, no matter what unit she is in, she will learn the safety precautions when handling weapons. Because when she comes to practice shooting in any unit, she will always be lined up in a line, one by one, facing me. Get in line. And she will be shown what she cannot do with a weapon without shooting herself in the face and her Kent. And this is very important. It might be funny, but it's, I don't know, well, 50% of the success of anybody's training is not killing yourself and learning to be completely safe with a gun. It's better not to kill 10 enemies than to kill one of your own during a fight. It is better not to kill 10 enemies than to shoot yourself in the face, to put it mildly. Here we need another word.
So you can put your finger on the trigger at 500 meters? At 500 meters. I mean, it's not acceptable.
This is a severe violation of the rule. That is, the person will learn safety precautions. He will understand the basic principles of working with weapons, where they are aimed, from which side the bullet comes out, and so on. And after that, he will most likely be assigned to a unit. I don't think that in our time of war, unless a person goes to the highly mobile airborne troops, Marines, or the Special Forces, there will be time to pay much attention to them in training. Therefore, they will most likely end up in units where their commanders will take care of them. And there, if a person is willing, he or she can just come up and say, "Commander, just teach me." And the commander will pass on his knowledge in terms of his skills. And I can say that one way or another, we have a bunch of great young officers in Ukraine who have graduated and are graduating now from higher education institutions where they have a deep approach to the methodology of teaching people. They absorb this knowledge themselves and know how to teach. Therefore, I see no reason why a person cannot learn on the spot, already being in the troops of his or her units, accepting the experience of military comrades from squad leaders, commanders in charge.
Cadets who gradually become officers study at higher military educational institutions. Hello, especially those who read and in general subscribe to the SDP. You are our future. Yes, guys, on.
You have a very serious responsibility.
You are okay with that?
It is not a joke. You will have to teach people to fight and kill, and not to die yourself in the process. Just think about it before you go to bed and do
This is
something
important.
about
Yeah.
your grades.
Yes. I mean, you are our future. And as for the people who are already in the army, it would be great if you could study some theoretical part before you get a call-up or a volunteer, right? You know, the tactical and technical characteristics, how it discharges and charges. Watch YouTube channels to see how weapons are registered and maintained. See what an AK system or an AR system is. That is, to learn a little bit. This would make it much easier for sergeants and commanders in the field to explain the difference between 5.56 or 5.45. Don't fucking put a 7.62 in a 5.45 store. let's take the school of our enemy, right? That is how they train new recruits now, right? Let's take perhaps some of their old school. Let's take our school. Do we now differ in the types and methods of personnel training if we simply take mobilized personnel from both countries?
Yes, definitely. We are different because they focus on training personnel according to the manuals in the middle of a Kalashnikov, as well as the rules of engagement if we are taking tactical actions. We are moving to the knowledge that NATO units have. And in principle, I can say that, in my opinion, they are cooler, they are easier to understand, they are more effective in modern warfare. There are not many elements there. There is an element of sabotage. And during the execution of sabotage, we know that in the Soviet school, we have a unit for clearing and removing sentries. And there, a guy comes in with a knife and actually cuts his head off. How applicable is this? Do they train this now? I think they do. To be honest, I don't have any reliable sources there. But looking at their general military tactics, I think they train such moments steadily, constantly. It's just that at this time, the same sabotage that will be studied under the NATO system does not include such strange units a la World War I. But this will be a unit that will direct fire at a certain time, in a certain place, at the enemy, at certain elements of the enemy. Therefore, I think we are a little bit ahead of the curve in this regard. But we shouldn't forget that all these skills, all this knowledge are freely available on the internet, on YouTube. There is also a lot of literature from the United States. The United States of America, their manuals and the like, which anyone can just pick up and read.
He who seeks will always find. Yes, and I wanted to ask you something else. The problem of the methodology for teaching automatic fire and weapon control, why don't we have this? I wouldn't even say massively. Why don't we have it? I mean, it is available somewhere in some, individual units.
No, because abroad, automatic fire is feared, disliked, and not used. And this has always been very strange to me, because in a very cool US firearms school, I saw one automatic fire exercise during the entire course, where thousands of rounds of ammunition were actually fired in a short period of time. And it was just one exercise. This is a force hold, a force hold. When we are at a distance of 3 meters from our target, we have a standard ISCS on the target, Zone A, and we have to hold our entire magazine in one unbroken line, 30 rounds of ammunition to put in Zone A. And I will honestly say that this is the case, but this is not all that automatic fire can do.
Because, for example, I also prescribed exercises for automatic fire, studied the enemy, how they act, and then we trained it all. And we have, for example, a target of 25 meters compared to 3 meters, but this is a normal target, and there should be, for example, 75% of hits. With a normal hold, you have to try several times. First, you shoot the magazine once to understand how the barrel moves, how to control it, to get a feel for the weapon, how the recoil works. Then they give you another one, which means that after you start shooting, you control the weapon, you bring it back and start controlling and holding it just on target, or if necessary, move it to the front or move it to the back, for example. I think that they lack this a little bit, and we may be one step ahead of them now.
We are already the bearers of this knowledge, and we will standardize it, put it into methodologies and teach it over time. And this is true because we are now in a military conflict, a modern one.
And I think it would be useful if you have some kind of time and desire, and if you already have experience, for example, working in the trenches, successful experience, and you understand why it happened, you analyze the task or battle and write down what worked, what didn't work, so that people can create some kind of methodology and preserve this knowledge and experience, because the only valuable things we have in the country are people and experience. Experience in terms of passing it on to the next people and accumulating it, because experience is like life.
Just look very quickly at how certain methods are developed. For example, in SQB, in one very cool world-class school, I asked them why it is this way, why it is a standard and not otherwise. For example, in a situation where a grenade falls when we are working on the stairs, when a grenade falls from the top floor, why do they roll it down and not in another way? Because a statistical analysis was made of different cases, of different NATO units in this situation. And they chose the statistically least dangerous or safest option for the entire unit as a whole. And they took it as a standard. We can do the same with our current experience. Those guys who receive it every day in different conditions, because some are in the desert, others are fighting in the forest, some are in trenches, some are in urban areas. And this experience, in order for us to be able to make the right squeeze out of it, needs to be accumulated and then analyzed. And we need to standardize this knowledge according to our experience-proven scenarios of the biggest ones we have.
And save the experience not here, but save the experience in your phone or in your notebooks. That's right, this is very important. I also wanted to ask you what the secret of success in precision shooting is. Look, really.
8 points of the precision shooting algorithm. Or they are also called the principles of precision shooting. Let's list them. The first is a stance, a good stance. The second is the correct grip. The third is the alignment of the sight line.
Kills. It's very...
The sight line is the line formed between our eyes and passes through our sighting devices and enters the control point on the target at which we aim. This is the line. If we collect it correctly, this is another successful point to accurate shooting. The fourth point is the sight picture. That is, our eye can focus on only one object at a time. It cannot focus on the aperture of the sighting device, the fly, or our target. And we have to choose something. The correct reticle is the fourth point. The fifth point is breathing. There are different breathing rhythms that are best suited to different types of fire, as well as the use of different weapon systems. Then there is descent training, namely a smooth descent. The seventh point is escort, that is, our ability to properly accompany the recoil of our weapon during the shot. And the eighth point is recovery. Recovery of what? Restoring all previous characteristics to exactly the same shape as before the previous shot. And in this case, the person will shoot accurately. He may not want to, but he will do it. It's simple, that's magic.
It's interesting. I think it would be cool if we could go to the field now and show it all in detail. I think our friend Miko is coming to visit us right now, and we'll shoot together and practice. Okay? Yeah, let's go.